I loved the full moon. Every month I would wait for it. The moon painted the night sky silver. It bathed our village in its gentle light. I would dance under the moon, my feet moving like whispers on the warm earth. My white dress flowed around me like moonlight itself. I felt so free and happy when I danced.
Sarah's laughter echoed in the night. The villagers would stop and watch her. Her joy was contagious. It filled everyone with a sense of peace. One night, Sarah danced by the river. The water shimmered under the full moon. She felt a presence nearby. She stopped dancing and looked around. A beautiful mermaid emerged from the water. Her skin shimmered like pearls. Her hair flowed like seaweed in a current. She held a golden comb in her hand.
This comb is yours, princess, but beware, it holds a powerful magic. Use it wisely.
Sarah, mesmerized by the mermaid's beauty, took the comb. Sarah couldn't wait to use the comb. She ran her fingers through its golden teeth. It felt warm and alive in her hand. When she brushed it through her hair, something magical happened. Her simple white dress transformed. It became a gown of shimmering gold. It sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars. Sarah had never felt so beautiful.
I danced under the moon, my heart filled with joy.
She didn't realize the mermaid was watching her from the river. The mermaid's eyes held a hint of sadness. News of Sarah's magical comb spread. People came from far and wide to see it. They whispered about its power and beauty. Some even offered Sarah gold and jewels in exchange for it. Sarah refused all offers. She loved the comb. It made her feel special. She didn't realize the greed it was awakening in the hearts of others.
One person in particular desired the comb, Sarah's own brother, David. I was kind and gentle, but the comb's magic awakened a darkness in me.
The river began to change. The once clear water turned murky and dark. The fish disappeared. The crops that relied on the river's water started to wither and die.
The villagers whispered in fear. They had always believed the river was protected by the mermaid. Now, they feared she was punishing them.
Sarah noticed these changes, but she couldn't imagine the comb was responsible. She clung to it even tighter, afraid of losing its magic. One night, David came to Sarah's room. He looked at his sister, his eyes filled with a mix of desperation and shame.
Sarah, I need the comb.
Why, David?
David confessed he wanted to trade the comb for land. He believed it was the only way to secure their family's future.
Sarah refused. She couldn't imagine parting with the comb.
David, blinded by his desire, waited until she fell asleep. He stole the comb and disappeared into the night. The river's condition worsened. The water dried up completely. The crops shriveled and died. Animals grew sick and perished. The village, once prosperous and vibrant, was now on the brink of famine.
Sarah was devastated. She realized the comb's absence coincided with the village's misfortunes. Guilt and fear gnawed at her heart.
She knew she had to find David and the comb. She set out on a journey, guided by the whispers of the wind and the cries of her people. Sarah found David hiding in a distant village. She had been searching for him for weeks, following every lead and rumor until she finally stumbled upon this remote place. The village was quiet, almost forgotten by time, and it was here that she found her brother, looking like a shadow of his former self. He had traded the comb for a vast plot of land. The land stretched as far as the eye could see, a seemingly endless expanse that promised prosperity and a new beginning. But the reality was far from the dream he had envisioned. But his victory felt hollow. The land, though vast, was barren and lifeless. David stood in the middle of it, feeling the weight of his choices pressing down on him. The emptiness of the field mirrored the emptiness he felt inside. The guilt of his actions and the suffering of his village weighed heavily on him. He'd hoped that the land would bring prosperity, but instead, it had brought only more hardship. The villagers, once hopeful, now looked at him with disappointment and sorrow. He looked at his sister, his eyes filled with remorse. Sarah could see the pain in his eyes, the regret that had been eating away at him. She knew that he had not meant for things to turn out this way, but the damage had been done.
Sarah, I was wrong. His voice was barely above a whisper, but the weight of his confession was heavy. He had been blinded by the promise of wealth and had lost sight of what truly mattered. The comb brought nothing but misery. It had seemed like a gift, a magical object that could change their lives for the better. but it had only brought pain and suffering, tearing apart the very fabric of their lives. We need to return it to the mermaid. David's voice was firm now, filled with a newfound determination. They had to make things right, to undo the wrongs they had committed. The comb had to go back to where it belonged.
Sarah embraced her brother. In that moment, all the anger and frustration melted away, replaced by a deep sense of understanding and forgiveness. They were in this together, and together they would find a way to make things right. They had both made mistakes, blinded by the comb's allure. The object that had promised so much had only brought heartache, but now they saw it for what it truly was, a curse that needed to be lifted. Now, united in their regret, they set out on a new journey, this time to seek the mermaid's forgiveness. The path ahead was uncertain, but they knew that they had to try. Together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to make amends and find redemption. They returned to the village to find it worse than before. The once vibrant community was now a shadow of its former self. The homes were crumbling and the fields lay barren. The air was thick with despair, and the faces of the villagers reflected the hopelessness that had taken root in their hearts. The villagers, desperate and hungry, looked upon them with anger and accusation. Their eyes, once filled with trust and warmth, now burned with resentment. The children who used to play joyfully in the streets now clung to their mothers, their eyes hollow and their bellies empty. The elders, who had always been the pillars of wisdom and strength, now seemed frail and defeated.
Voice choked with emotion. The mermaid and the stolen comb. We are so sorry. Please forgive us. We promise to make things right. We never meant for things to get this bad. We were blinded by our own needs and desires, and in doing so, we brought this curse upon our home. We beg for your forgiveness and your help to restore what has been lost.
Together, with heavy hearts and a glimmer of hope, they journeyed to the riverbed, now a dry and cracked scar on the earth. The river, which once brought life and sustenance to the village, was now a desolate wasteland. The ground was parched, and the air was filled with the scent of dust and decay. Yet they walked on, driven by the faint hope that they could still make a difference. They called out to the mermaid, their voices echoing in the silence. "Please hear us," they cried. "We have come to make amends. We seek your guidance and your mercy. Show us the way to heal our land and our people." Their pleas were carried by the wind, reaching out into the vast emptiness, hoping to find the ears of the one who could save them. They waited, their hearts pounding with anxiety, hoping for a miracle. The silence was deafening, and every second felt like an eternity. They stood there, united in their desperation, their eyes fixed on the horizon, praying for a sign. The weight of their past mistakes hung heavy in the air, but so did the hope for redemption. They knew that this was their last chance to make things right, and they were willing to do whatever it took to save their village. The mermaid emerged from the dry riverbed. Her once vibrant scales were dull and lifeless. Her eyes, usually filled with kindness, now reflected the pain of her stolen comb and the suffering of the village. She listened as Sarah and David poured out their hearts, expressing their remorse and begging for forgiveness. Sarah held out the golden comb, a symbol of her greed and her brother's betrayal.
The comb's magic is tied to respect and honesty. You have learned a valuable lesson.
The mermaid accepted the comb with a gentle smile, her eyes reflecting the gratitude she felt. The girl who had given the comb watched in awe as the mermaid's fingers delicately traced the golden teeth. It was a moment of connection, a bridge between two worlds, the human and the mystical. As soon as her fingers touched the golden teeth, a tremor shook the earth. The ground beneath them quivered, and a deep rumble echoed through the valley. It was as if the very soul of the earth had been awakened by the touch of the comb. The villagers who had gathered nearby felt the vibrations under their feet and looked around in wonder and fear. Water, clear and sparkling, erupted from the dry riverbed, flowing with renewed life. The once parched land drank deeply, and the river, which had been a mere memory, now roared back to life. The villagers who had suffered through the drought rejoiced. They danced and sang by the river, their hearts filled with hope and gratitude. Children splashed in the water and elders offered prayers of thanks. The crops revived, their green leaves reaching for the sky, and the animals regained their health, grazing contentedly in the lush fields. The mermaid, her mission complete, returned to her watery home. She swam gracefully through the clear waters, her heart light with the knowledge that she had brought life back to the land. The villagers watched her go, their hearts filled with a deep sense of peace and gratitude. Sarah danced under the full moon once more, but this time it was a dance of gratitude and humility. The moonlight bathed her in a soft glow, and the river, now full and flowing, reflected the light like a mirror. Her movements were fluid and graceful, a silent prayer of thanks to the mermaid and the magic of the golden comb. She felt a deep connection to the earth and the water, a bond that would never be broken. She had learned that true beauty came not from magical objects, but from a pure heart and respect for all things. As she danced, she reflected on the lessons she had learned. The golden comb was a symbol, a reminder that the true magic lay within her and within the world around her. She felt a deep sense of peace and contentment, knowing that she was a part of something much greater than herself. And so, the village prospered once more, forever reminded of the magical comb and the lessons it taught. The villagers worked together, their hearts united by the shared experience. They smiled and laughed, their lives enriched by the magic that had touched their land. The village was a place of joy and harmony, a testament to the power of gratitude, humility, and respect for all things. The story of the mermaid and the golden comb was passed down through generations, a cherished tale that reminded them of the beauty and magic that lay within their hearts and their world.